Hello again.
Hi. It is September 9th, and our topic for today is nothing to fear but fear itself. Seneca says, "But there is no reason to live and no limit to our miseries if we let our fears predominate." There's no reason to live and no limit to our miseries if we let our fears predominate.
Yeah, I mean, like that's good because I mean, I want to say that the way I'm processing fear is that I am definitely afraid, but I feel that I still act upon the things that I'm afraid of, and especially if they're kind of like, jumping off the roof onto a concrete floor. Yeah, I'm afraid that I'm going to break my legs, and I'm not going to do that, right? But there are things that I'm afraid that are not, like asking for a raise. Let's say, at work. You work there for a year. You've been doing awesome job. You know all this stuff, right? But then like going to ask for a raise is like crazy, like ordeal, right? Like fear takes over, and you're like, well, I can't do that. I haven't been working here long enough. The opposites come out, right? Like why you shouldn't do it. And but I would say 9 out of 10, like I do it anyway. Like I just go like, what? No, I'm gonna go do it. And maybe they'll say no, and then I have to be prepared to swallow that pill, right? And which that pill is not the best thing to swallow when you ask for something and you're rejected, but it's so much better than not asking in the first place. So yeah, I mean, but there might be some fears that I am not doing.
I think it's hard to be aware
Aware of which ones I'm not doing, right?
but also it's hard to sometimes be aware of fear itself.
Right.
Because fear can present itself as so many different emotions.
Mm-hmm.
It can present as anger, for example.
Or I don't want to.
It can present as I don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
It can present as anxiety, worry.
Mm-hmm.
It can present as all these different things, and so it's hard to exactly know what I am avoiding out of fear.
Oh, it could also shows up as a laughter.
Sure, yeah.
Like a nervous
like an uncomfortable
laughter,
laughter,
right?
totally.
Like I don't want to do that. Right? Yeah. There's all these different expressions of itself, but ultimately it is all rooted in some sort of a fear, some sort of a worry. What is a war? It's about future, right? It has to be about future, right? It's about the consequences that the decision will make. So it's never about the past. That's
I
interesting.
think it's informed by the past. It's informed by
It's
the
informed
idea.
by the past. It's never, but it's also not about like it's also not about the present. It's not about making the choice, making the decision. That is like easy. Like yeah, okay, let's do it this way. But now I'm stuck with the consequences of that action, so I don't want to make the decision. I'm afraid of making the decision because I don't see the consequences that are going to come from it. And so I think that's the
Or I
that's
don't
the
trust
sort of
myself. Here's why I say it's informed by the past, because I have an idea about who I am, what I'm capable of, what my place in the world is, and that whole idea has been buttressed by everything that I've ever been through. And now I'm in the present moment and I'm feeling fear about going down path A or B. And as I look down path A and path B, what am I afraid of? I'm afraid that this version of myself that I'm bringing into this situation is not going to be able to handle this or succeed at this or or rise to the challenge of this, and I'm afraid that if I fail, it's gonna be so mortifying and embarrassing that I'm not going to be able to recover from it, and all of that is created by this idea that I have about who I am and what I'm capable of. Which is why it's important to do the things that we're scared of anyway, because that is the mechanism that slowly changes that idea that I have about myself over time, because I'm able to prove myself wrong in a lot of cases. But sometimes I prove myself right. Like, yeah, I did fail. I fell on my face. Everybody laughed at me. It was embarrassing as fuck. But guess what? It was okay. It's okay to be embarrassed sometimes. It's okay to fail publicly sometimes. It's not pleasant, but I survive, I learn, I get up, I dust myself off, I move on.
Yeah, but that's after you know that happened. But before you're going in, it's the before. You know, like, yeah, I know what you're saying. You're like, hey, well, I've done a speech like this before, so this speech that's coming up, I will be probably okay, even though I fear it, so I will go forward to it, right? But if it's your first one, you're like losing your mind.
Yeah,
right?
of course. Well, and that's why I'm saying, like, it's important to do those things anyway, even the first time,
yes,
because I will find out from that first time, hey, this wasn't as bad as I thought, and I don't need to be as scared of it, or this was as bad as I thought, but, like, guess what? I'm still okay. And I'm still going to be afraid of it next time, but I'm going to be a little bit more okay with it next time, because I know the misery that's ahead of me, basically, and I know that I'll survive.
Yeah. It's like that Apollo 13 thing. Like failure is not an option, right? Like, well, that's a nice slogan, sir, but option of failure was absolutely on the table. It was just don't think about failure, think about success, and that's how we get to it. Like, that was a good inspirational thing. But it's like, failure? No. Failure is always the option, dude. The failure is always there to be ready to fail, my friends. Like, there is no such thing as there is no option to fail. Right? And so, but we wanna go around and speak this grandiose thing, this opinion of failure is not an option, aka work really hard and you will get there. Well, no, failure, you might still work really hard and failure still might happen, and that should not deter us from going and working really hard, because I think that's what we are afraid of. We're afraid of the failure, right? We're not afraid of the hard work. We're afraid that we're going to put all this hard work into something that's going to amount to nothing, right? So that's where our fear comes into it. But again, we don't know anything about the future. Therefore, it's better to go do the things that we're afraid of instead of not do them.
Learn how to fail.
Yeah. Learn how to fail and don't go into things head first. Like, yeah, think about it first. Like, it's just because, like, well, this could fail, so I guess let's go forward. Like, no. Let's figure out how we can have the best chances of it not failing. Check. Now let's move forward, right? Yeah. Into potential failure. Yeah. Cool beans. Okay. Mr. Ryan, what do you have for us?
Ryan says, in the early days of what would become known as the Great Depression, a new president named Franklin Delano Roosevelt was sworn in and gave his first inaugural address. As the last president to hold office before the 20th Amendment was ratified, FDR wasn't able to take office until March, meaning that the country had been without strong leadership for months. Panic was in the air, banks were failing, people were scared. You've probably heard the "nothing to fear but fear itself" soundbite that FDR gave in that famous speech, but the full line is worth reading because it applies to many difficult things we face in life. Let me assert my firm belief that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Nameless, unreasoning, unjustified terror which paralyzes needed efforts to convert retreat into advance. The Stoics knew that fear was to be feared because of the miseries it creates. The things we fear pale in comparison to the damage we do to ourselves and others when we unthinkingly scramble to avoid them. An economic depression is bad. A panic is worse. A tough situation isn't helped by terror. It only makes things harder. And that's why we must resist it and reject it if we wish to turn this situation around.
That's a good one. Yeah, because it's very easy to jump on the bandwagon of the dysfunction and say, this is all messed up, it's all jacked up, right? And so you're now adding to the fuel of this is dysfunctional versus like, hey, yeah, it's all messed up, but let's go fix it. Let's go work on it. Let's go face the challenges of this being not working. Let's go figure it out. Let's face that challenge. Yeah.
It's hard because fear is a much faster response than any of the rational things. It's like in the most primal part of our brain, and so
it makes sense though, right? I mean, the fear is a good thing, right? When the lion is running at you. so no wonder it's fast and the first.
And right? Overpowers everything else.
Because it's trying to save us, but it's trying to save us from
it's irrational, like it doesn't know. It's not discerning.
It doesn't have a mechanism to identify the situation that it's being applied to. It's just like a red button. Fear.
And it stops us from taking the necessary action to make our situation better. And so
it's up to us when we hear the button push, the fear button push. It's up to us to not just go, oh my God, fear, so therefore I'm not doing it. No. Let's analyze what this is. What am I afraid of? Is this justified? Should I be afraid of it as much as I am?
If I weren't afraid of it, what would be the right thing to do here?
Yeah. If fear was not an option, but not
present.
If failure was not something I'm afraid of.
Failure or fear?
Failure. Let's say failure. If failure is not something that I'm not afraid of, how would I act? Right? Well, if I wasn't afraid of, I would do it. Well, then there you go. It's kind of very, very good. Okay. Anything else you have for this guy?
No, I'm interested in like a process for dealing with the speed of fear, which they haven't really talked about, but just have to think on that for a little bit.
Speed of fear. I mean, kind of what I was talking about that makes, think of it a little bit like we know, like knowing this, the knowing about the speed of it is like one thing, like, oh, fear comes very fast. Okay, cool. That's good to know. When it comes, do I react to it instantly, or do I have to analyze it somewhat? I need to have an internal conversation with myself. Is this justified to be afraid this much? And if that happens, I think that's the mechanism to now categorize that fear and say, is this a lion I need to get the hell out of here, or is this something that I'm just afraid of and I need to actually go deal with, right? Now catching it is that mechanism of catching it might not be optimized to catch everything, right? So that's where there might be some other techniques to figure out, like, I can see myself to just kind of sitting and asking myself, what am I afraid of these days? Not like right now in the second, no, lion is running. I'm not afraid of anything. I can say to myself, I'm not afraid of anything right now. Yes. But if I say these days, this period of this short time, this past month, this month coming up and the month past, what am I afraid of? What have I gone through that I'm afraid of? And now there is some sort of a reminiscing, maybe coming, oh yeah, I didn't want to do that. I was kind of afraid of it. Oh, I'm afraid of that. Oh, wow, that's cool. Like getting to kind of go through this analytical way of thinking about our fear, not just reacting to it when it shows up so fast. Oh my God, it's here. What? This is what we were talking about the other day. I don't know what to do. It's all, it has to be, the planning for the fear has to happen outside of when it's happening, right? We have to do it in some sort of a calm place prior to the fear arising, so we can actually have some sort of a good relationship with it instead of just like reacting to it so abruptly. Yeah. Good one. Good deal.
Let's wrap it up.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.